Do something almost every day that, for nearly the entire history of life on Earth, was impossible for an adult animal. You pour a cold glass of milk, you drink it, and you feel completely fine. No other adult mammal on the planet can do that. And a few thousand years ago, neither could your own ancestors. Picture a grown man, long before farms or writing, lifting a bowl of another animal's milk to his mouth. Not a baby, a full-grown adult. His own body was built to treat that milk like a mild poison, and he drank it anyway. So when did ancient humans first drink milk? And why are you one of the strange minority of adults on Earth whose body still lets them get away with it? The answer is one of the fastest, most brutal rewrites evolution ever did to the human body. Every mammal begins life on milk. A kitten, a calf, a human baby. All of them make an enzyme called lactase that splits the sugar in milk so the gut can absorb it. It is the very first food any of us ever eats. But there's a catch built into almost every mammal. After weaning, that enzyme is supposed to shut down. The body stops wasting energy making lactase. Because no adult animal in the wild will ever drink milk again, the tap gets turned off for life. So for an adult, milk becomes a problem. The unsplit sugar rushes into the gut, feeds a riot of bacteria, and you get cramps, bloating, gas, and worse. For most of human history, an adult who drank fresh milk paid for it within the hour. That is the body the first herders were working with. Every one of them had been weaned off milk as a child and, biologically, should never have touched it again. Milk was baby food. To an adult stomach, it was closer to a mild toxin than a meal. Then, around 10,000 years ago, in the Middle East, humans did something new. They stopped only hunting animals and started keeping them. Cattle, goats, sheep, penned, bred, and controlled. But not, at first, for milk. A cow you kill for its meat, you can only kill once. Early herders wanted the animal alive, for hides, for muscle, for a walking store of food on the hoof. Milk was sitting right there, warm and renewable, every single day, and their bodies couldn't handle it. Now imagine a bad year. The crops fail, the game is gone, the children are hungry, and there stands an animal producing gallons of rich, fatty, life-saving calories a week. Milk wasn't a treat. In a famine, it was the difference between a child living and dying. So humans found a workaround long before their bodies caught up. If you let milk sour and ferment into yogurt, into cheese, bacteria eat most of that troublesome sugar for you. The lactose drops. Aged cheese is almost lactose-free. You could eat it and not get sick. And we can actually see them doing it. Archaeologists found clay pottery over 7,000 years old in Poland, riddled with tiny holes, exactly like a cheese strainer. Trapped in the clay were the chemical fingerprints of milk fat. That is a cheesemaker's kitchen 7,000 years ago. So the first dairy wasn't a glass of fresh milk at all. It was cheese and yogurt, milk with the danger fermented out of it. For thousands of years, that was the only safe way for an adult to eat what a cow produced. And then the human body itself began to change. And fermenting did something else, just as vital. In a world where a sip of the wrong water could kill you, souring milk into yogurt killed the dangerous bacteria too. Milk wasn't just food that lasted. It was one of the cleanest, safest things a person could drink. They even learned to bank it as fat, churned into butter, or boiled down into golden ghee. Milk could be stored for months, with no cold at all. A lump of pure winter calories waiting on a shelf. And before the great herds of cattle, the first animals humans milked were smaller and safer. Goats and sheep, easy to handle and quick to breed. The very first taste of the milk revolution didn't come from a cow at all. It came from a goat. Out on the open steppe, herders took it further. They fermented the milk of their horses into a sharp, fizzy, mildly alcoholic drink. It preserved the milk for the road, tamed the sugar, and turned a herd of animals into a moving supply of food and drink. Somewhere in that world of herders, a single tiny error appeared in one person's DNA, a change in one letter of the genetic code, right beside the lactase gene. And it did something no other adult mammal's body does. It refused to switch the enzyme off. This is lactase persistence. The tap that was supposed to close in childhood simply stayed open. For life, the person carrying it could walk up to an animal, drink its raw milk, and feel nothing but full. In a hungry world, that was a superpower. And evolution noticed at once. Think what that one advantage means across a famine, a drought, a killing winter. The person who can drink milk gets clean calories and safe liquid when everyone else is starving or sick. They live, they breed, their children carry the gene. Most changes to the human body take hundreds of thousands of years. This one tore through whole populations in only a few thousand. It is one of the strongest, fastest cases of natural selection ever found in our species. One dietary trick, spreading like fire across a continent. To feel the pressure, in some early European farming groups, carrying this gene gave a survival and reproduction edge among the strongest ever measured in a human population. Milk didn't just feed people, it quietly rewrote who got to have descendants at all. And this is the thing scientists love about it. Normally, biology comes first and behavior follows. Here it was backwards. The culture came first. The herding, the milking, the cheese, and then our DNA scrambled to catch up. Milk is the textbook case of a habit reshaping the human genome. And here's what shows how strong the pull was. It didn't happen once. It happened again and again, on its own. Europe evolved one version of the milk mutation. Herders in East Africa evolved a completely different one. The Middle East, another. Different letters, same result. Keep the tap open. When evolution invents the same answer 3 separate times, in 3 separate places, it's telling you something. It's telling you that drinking milk was so valuable, in a world of herds and hunger, that nature kept reaching for the same solution over and over. And you can still watch a version of it today. In East Africa, some herding peoples live largely off their cattle, drinking the milk fresh, sometimes mixed with blood drawn from the living animal. It's a living window into a whole way of life built on what walks beside you. We can even catch the ancient milk drinkers in the act. Scientists scraped the hardened plaque off skeletons' teeth and found milk proteins locked inside, thousands of years old. Frozen in that fossil tartar is a record of exactly who was drinking milk and when. Now the story turns, because the timing is stranger than it looks. When scientists pulled DNA from ancient skeletons, they found something no one expected. For thousands of years after people were milking animals, almost none of them could digest fresh milk. The herds came first. The gene came much, much later. DNA reswitched. So for a long stretch you have whole cultures raising cattle, making cheese, living off their animals, and still, biologically, unable to drink a plain glass of milk without suffering. The habit ran thousands of years ahead of the body, which raises a hard question. What finally forced the change? The best answer is also the darkest. Not comfort, catastrophe. When harvests collapsed and disease swept through, milk was the emergency food that didn't fail. In those exact moments of mass death, the few who could drink it raw and live left more children behind. The gene spread on the back of famine and plague. There may have been a second pull. Up in the north, under those gray, sunless skies, people struggled to make enough vitamin D, and milk came loaded with calcium to help hold their bones together. In the cold and the dark of northern Europe, being able to drink it was one more reason to survive. So lactase persistence isn't really the story of people enjoying milk. It's the story of people surviving when everything else ran out. Every time you drink a glass and feel fine, you're using a body that was forged in someone else's disaster. And milk didn't just feed the herders, it made them rich. A living animal that hands you food every morning is wealth on legs. And cattle became so precious that our word capital and our word cattle grew from the very same root. A herd was a bank account, and milk was the interest. You can still read all of this on a map. Today, only about a third of adults on Earth can comfortably digest fresh milk. Where people have a long history of herding, Northern Europe, parts of Africa, and the Middle East, most adults keep the enzyme. Everywhere else, most adults lose it, exactly like other mammals. That map isn't random. It traces the footprints of ancient herders. Wherever people lived beside milk animals for thousands of years, the gene took hold. Wherever they didn't, it never arrived. Your ability to drink milk is a signature of where your ancestors stood and what stood next to them. And when you say it plainly, it stays strange. You are an adult, drinking baby food, made by a completely different species, and your body just shrugs and says thank you. There is almost nothing else in the animal kingdom that does that. You have simply stopped noticing how odd it is. And this is where our story crosses the ice. Because there was one enormous part of the world this milk revolution never reached at all. The first people to walk into the Americas crossed the frozen land bridge long before any of this happened. Before cattle were tamed, before the first cheese, before the mutation even existed. They carried in a Stone Age toolkit and an Ice Age body into 2 continents with almost no animals you could ever milk. No cows, no goats, no sheep. The giants of the Americas were mammoths and bison and ground sloths, not creatures you pen up and milk twice a day. So the one thing that drove the milk mutation everywhere else, living beside a herd of tame milk animals, simply never existed here. And so the gene never came. To this day, the native peoples of the Americas, like most of East Asia, are overwhelmingly lactose intolerant as adults. Not because anything is wrong with them, but because their ancestors left the old world before milk rewrote the human stomach. They kept the original body. We're the strange ones. Sit with that, because it flips what feels normal. The people who can't drink milk aren't broken. They're carrying the original, factory-standard mammal body that every other species still has. It's the milk drinkers who are the mutants. Being able to finish a glass of milk is the weird thing. So think what that means. Whether a glass of milk is food or poison to you was decided thousands of years ago by whether your particular ancestors happened to stand next to a cow. Two humans, the same species, split by an ice bridge and a few thousand years into milk drinkers and everyone else. Milk is one of the clearest cases we have of humans and their animals evolving together. We changed the cow, bred it tamer, milkier, calmer. And in return, the cow changed us, right down in our DNA. We didn't just domesticate the animal helped domesticate our own bodies. And that one ancient accident still runs the world. Every dairy aisle, every cheese counter, every tanker of milk on the motorway rests on a single genetic switch that flipped in a few starving herders thousands of years ago. $100 billion industry standing on one changed letter of DNA. Which is why your fridge is quietly one of the strangest objects in human history. Butter, cheese, yogurt, ice cream, a splash of milk in your coffee, a whole wall of food your body has only handled for a sliver of the time humans have existed, all built on a mutation born out of hunger. So the calm little moment of pouring milk into your coffee is hiding a lot of bodies. Behind it stand thousands of years of cramping stomachs, hungry winters, dead children, and desperate herders who drank it and suffered long before anyone's body was built to say yes. So the next time you drink a glass of milk and feel absolutely nothing, remember what that nothing actually is. It's a scar of survival, a mutation that clawed through famines and plagues because the people who had it lived, while the people who didn't died. Your comfort with milk is a fossil of an ancient emergency. So when did ancient humans first drink milk? Long before their bodies were ready, out of desperation, straining it through cloth and letting it sour just to survive it. And only later, in the grip of famine, did evolution reach in and flip the switch that let a grown adult do the impossible. Drink from another animal and thrive. Because your ancestors never drank milk for the taste, they drank it because the other choice was watching the herd stay full while their own children went hungry. The pleasure came last, painted in afterward over a habit the dying had already paid for. And the proof is written across the whole planet, in who can and who can't. It's in a European swallowing milk without a thought, and in the first Americans who crossed the ice too early to ever get the gene. Two branches of one family, sorted forever by a single glass of milk. So the map of milk is really a map of goodbyes. It marks who stayed behind with the herds long enough for their bodies to change, and who walked away across the ice into a new world and never got the gene at all. The same story, written in your gut. So look at your own hand holding that glass and know it's telling a story about a famine you'll never see and ancestors you'll never meet. If you want more uncomfortable truths hiding inside your everyday body, subscribe. Because next we're going after another ordinary thing you do that your ancestors would find absolutely insane.